Hi, I'm Deborah Lamata, and this is Women Entrepreneur Spotlight. I started this podcast because I believe that every woman entrepreneur has a story to tell, and by sharing that story, she could be helping the next woman entrepreneur looking for some guidance. So tune in, get comfortable, and enjoy the series. Hi, and welcome to Women Entrepreneur Spotlight. I want to welcome my guest, Heather Szarka of Moon 38. And Moon 38 is a marketing agency, and Heather recently celebrated 3 years in business. Congratulations to you, and thank you so much for being here today, Heather. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. So I like to ask 2 questions to get warmed up. And the first question is, what is your favorite app on your phone and why?
Favorite app right now is probably Canva or Mojo, just because I'm always on the go and trying to do 10 things at once so I can still get some work done while I'm running around.
I definitely understand that. Right. As I sit here with my tablet and my computer and my phone, it's like, oh my goodness, what am I doing? Okay. When you need a brain, right? When you need a brain break, what do you like to do?
I definitely love to read. I'm a huge reader, and so fiction, right? So taking that time in like the evenings to decompress from the day and like let my brain take a break. Reading is nice because then I'm sucked into something, but to me, I'm not thinking about all the 8 million other things I have to do. So I definitely love to decompress with a good book.
Absolutely. I like to read also. What are you reading? Anything good?
I just finished up the latest in the Prey series by John Sanford. He's probably my favorite author. So I like a good thriller or a good whodunit.
Yes, I definitely like a whodunit also. So, Moon 38, what inspired you to start your own business?
It was a happy kind of circumstance, I guess we could say. I never wanted to be a business owner and never aspired to. And I just had been working for a larger company for a long time, and they were bought out by an even bigger company, and it really lost its family kind of feel. We lost our culture, and it just wasn't the same anymore. And I was pregnant with my second child at that time, and I looked at my husband and I said, "What am I going to do? I don't want to be here. This is not the right environment for me, and I don't want to go job hunt 6 months pregnant and be like,
Right.
oh, hey, I'm going to need maternity leave." Uh, and he was like, "Why don't you just do it for yourself?" And I said, "Oh, I don't, is that an option? Like, I don't, I don't know." Yeah. And I said, "You know what? You're right. Like, what is the worst that could happen? I fail. Okay, then I will go get a job and work for someone else. But how do I know if I don't try?" So I took the big leap of faith 3 years ago, and it was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Oh, congratulations. That is awesome. 3 years in the running. And that is always a good sign when you're into that third year, heading into 5 years is just around the corner. So you've got a
Oh,
good hold on
yeah.
it. Well, congratulations. That's awesome. I like that story. And just real quick,
Thank you.
I had asked you about your name of your company when we talked on the phone, and it's unique. So is there a story behind the name you'd like to share?
Sure. Yeah. So I was going back and forth when I was coming up with a name, and you want to be unique, but you want people to be able to spell it, and you want kind of like naming a kid. And I didn't want it to be initials. I didn't want it to be my name. I wanted it to be something fun, and I've always kind of been drawn to anything kind of celestial. And so I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I said, "How about Moon 38?" And my husband was like, "What? Why?" It was just kind of like, okay, but like, what is that? And I said, "Well, I don't have a brick and mortar. I was working from my home office." And I said, so it's like when you say you're working remote, it's, your satellite office, and the moon is a satellite to Earth, right? And my
Right.
address at the time was 38. So I said Moon 38. And he was like, "It's weird, but it's you. So yeah." Not that I needed his approval, but
No,
I was like, I needed to bounce it off another person.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
it just kind of stuck.
I love it. Yeah. Well, so you, with a unique name in a unique position, 6 months pregnant and starting your own business. I mean, how, doesn't get better than that.
Yeah, I was all in.
There you go. Absolutely. And so from your website, it says business steps, brand leaps. Our vision is to nurture your brand from the inside out. At its core, every brand has something special to reveal, something that inspires people. So tell us about Moon 38 and what it is about and what services you provide.
So really, I went into this and I was like, okay, I've been in the marketing, and in the digital marketing world for, about a decade. I've worked with some amazing people, and I thought, well, why don't I take all the knowledge that I have and my hunger to keep learning and just go after it and, tackle the services that, I know I can do and that I enjoy and that will always be valuable. And bring those to other small businesses. And that's really been my target audience, is I want to work with other folks like myself. I want to work and help represent small to medium businesses so that they can grow and they can be successful. Because, when you're working with a small business, it's not just about, some CEO getting, a new private plane or anything larger. It's about helping them afford karate lessons or
Right.
helping them buy that, four-wheeler for their little girl.
Exactly.
Um, and so that was really my whole thing behind jumping into it, was saying, okay, I want to do this and I want to do it and I want to be able to work with people that I know I'll feel happy supporting and helping watching them grow. And so, the services kind of range, and that's what I love about it is every client I have is different. I won't take on any competitors, so every client is there in their own niche or own field. So I'll never work with someone in the same, if I'm
Right.
working with someone in the HVAC industry, that's the only one I'm working with. And the services are kind of tailored to them and what they need and what they're looking for. And we put our heads together and come up with a strategy or a plan. And so, it's anything from reputation management to videography, offering content, whether it be for, I hate to say social media because I never say that I offer social media services, but content to put on social media,
Okay.
um, media planning and buying, and then search engine marketing. And, there have been some odd requests from folks here and there that have needed just one-off projects, and I've tackled it. And it really kind of rolls and it evolves. And every client is truly a relationship. It's courting them and figuring out what they need, what they want, and then just growing from there. And that's the beauty of it.
So when you were just talking about what you offered, is that what's in your toolbox? I saw on your website you have a toolbox, and the tools in that toolbox is something you were just talking about, correct?
Yep. Yep. So the tools in the toolbox are really the services and what we provide. And, like I said, it's kind of, it grows. So those are some of the basics, but then there's clients who can come up and like, hey, I want to do this. Can you help me? I want to plan an event. Can you help just plan and organize and do this whole event for me? And I'm like, yeah, we totally do that. Let's do
Oh,
it. Right.
yeah, absolutely. So your tools are, you can use them individually, or you put them all together to come up with a grand plan for them.
Absolutely. Everyone is so different and every business is so different. And, depending on the market that they're in, it just, like I said, it's an evolution, and that's the fun part of the ride.
Also on the website, you can you tell us about your mission statement and values, and how important it is to your company? And do you feel that other companies should have a mission statement and values?
Yeah. So I kind of have a yes and a no to that, right? Like, I'm going to go, kind of non-textbook here and say, yeah, you should have a mission statement. Absolutely. And you should have values, because it's supposed to be the ideal vision for your company, right? For your future and directing your growth, and it should be measurable. But then I'm going to jump out and say, yeah, I have a mission and I have values and I do stick by them, but mine aren't by the book.
Mhm.
They're not a set, standardized goal. My mission is about leveraging what I can do and how I think I can help you succeed, because when you do, I do, right? And that's
Right.
it, point blank, very blunt. And part of that rolls into some of my biggest values, which is transparency. With me,
Right.
it's what you see was what you get, and
Right.
I have no smoke and mirrors. I've always been sometimes painfully transparent with clients. But I think that's one of my better assets, is that I'm not afraid to tell you, yes or no on something, and here's why. And I think that that's something people need, because I don't ever want someone to feel like they're being swindled, right? So
Right.
transparency comes down to being able to trust, because when I'm going into business with somebody, it's treated as a partnership.
Right.
It's a relationship. It's not a transaction. To me, growth is a huge value, because I don't know that I can truly define success. And I feel like I say success or successful a lot, but it varies depending on who I'm talking about it with
Right.
and what we're talking about, because it's so fluid, in my opinion.
Yep.
And accountability really means something. And I feel like in this day and age, there's a lack of accountability for
Yes.
very particular services out there.
Yes.
And there's a misrepresentation of people being accountable for what they can and can't do. And I never want to fall into that. So I feel like I have a mission and values for Moon 38, and I try to stick to them, because that's important for me, right, for growth. But it's
Absolutely.
also valuable to my clients to understand, so that everyone's on the same page. So mine aren't by the book, they're not textbook, right? But they're what I truly felt at my core, because that was, building this brand for me. For other women out there looking to start a business, I say the same thing. Start writing them out. Make sure you have a mission at least. And then don't be afraid to kind of recraft it if you
Right.
need to.
Absolutely.
But it creates something for you to hold yourself accountable to, right? I just don't
Right.
think it necessarily has to be quite so textbook.
No, absolutely not. And I think anybody that has started out in business or thinking about business, it evolves. I mean, you might have one idea on the paper one day and working with a business plan, and down the road is going to change because inevitably you change, the company changes, you evolve, you grow. And so it's like you said, it evolves over time. And I just mentioned the business plan, along with your mission statement values. Do you have a business plan in place?
I do. And so I put together a business plan in the very beginning, as you should, right? And I
Right.
do think anyone who is out there thinking of starting a business, you absolutely need to do one. And again, maybe it's not exactly to the T of a standard, but it's creating a set standard and a goal for yourself, especially when you're thinking about projections and being realistic with your financials. You have to be as honest as you can on paper with
Yeah.
yourself there first, right? So
Yes.
I do think you should put together a business plan. Um, some of it, maybe again, not to a T, depending on what type of business you want, right? And what
Right.
kind of future you see for your business, then it's all fluid, right? But I think, yes, you have to have something to start with, because if you don't have something at the starting point, you'll never know how much you've grown.
Absolutely. And that is one of the questions that I have asked all the women entrepreneurs that I have interviewed, is about the business plan. And it is 100% consensus that you need a business plan in the beginning. It could be as simple as one page, and then you work from there. But having something in writing along with that mission state and your values is just the best way to start off, I feel, to start off your business.
Yep.
And at this time, if you would like to let the listeners know where they can get in contact with you.
Sure. So through the website is always great, moon38.com. You can email Heather at moon38.com. Or, you can reach out on Facebook, at moon38 is how it's spelled out, or Instagram at moon38. But always available via phone. You can find it on the website as well. So when in doubt, moon38.com.
There you go. Thank you. What challenges did you have to overcome when you first started Moon 38, besides being 6 months pregnant and coming up with your business name?
Those were fun ones.
Yes.
I think the biggest challenges were, one, understanding my value, right? Like, I had the business plan and I had an idea of my financials and my projection, and I knew what my first year goals were. And then also, I kind of had like a goal for year 3. But I think truly understanding my value, because, you know, i- imposter syndrome, right? That's a
Right.
real thing.
Right.
And it's still a thing. I definitely find those moments of imposter syndrome at times. And so I think in the very beginning, it was harder in feeling like I needed to understand my value and my worth and my time to be able to really put it into play so that I felt confident in talking to a client about this is, what we're talking about doing. This is what this is going to cost. This is what, the result will look like. So I think that was probably my hardest part. And I think that's probably the same for anyone in any field, right? Is that
Yes.
having the value and the confidence to be able to know you can go in and say, I can do this, and here's how.
Yes. And sitting in a meeting for the first time with your sweaty palms and your knees knocking and hoping that your voice doesn't sound like it's quivering.
Yes.
Yep, been there. So what makes Moon 38 stand out from other agencies?
I honestly don't know how to answer that. I look at other agencies out there that I think, are smaller ones, more similar to myself, right? And I'm like, yeah, I love what you're doing. Or I meet other folks in the field and I'm impressed by what they say. I don't compare myself because
Okay.
I'm out here just doing me and
Right.
trying my best. But I think I look at other people in the space and I think that's really healthy motivation to be like,
Yes.
hey, look what you did. That's amazing. Good for you. And I'm not afraid to pick brains, of other people when I run into them at events or we connect online. And I'm not afraid to ask questions, be like, hey, I loved when you did this. And I love to like geek out over a project with somebody about something. And I think that that's great and that's healthy. And I don't ever want to be out there and be like, I'm the best. I am a standard of what should be good. And I'll never claim to be an expert on anything because if you're an expert, then you know absolutely everything.
You
And
know it all.
I definitely don't.
Right. Oh, I'm with you.
So yeah, but I love the idea of constantly running into new people and finding new trends and new things and learning about them and educating and growing as one, an individual, but two, as business and finding other folks who are doing something that I want to learn and reaching out and connecting. There's another agency that they truly specialize in social media and I love everything they do. It's fantastic. And, that's not a realm that I will ever claim to be an expert in. And it's not a service that I push or put out there. I do content, but I never claim to be a social media expert.
Right.
And so, I got together with I guess she would be their CEO. I don't know what her exact title is, but, and said, hey, I want to do a training with you on this particular client on social media because it's not something I do. And I love what you do. I love seeing it. And she was like, oh, we've never like trained with another agency before. And I was like, well, let's do it.
There you go.
And so we did, and it was fabulous. And I took away so much. And it was just refreshing and inspiring to be amongst other people who are also thriving and doing well, but still trying to grow. So, yeah, I don't think that I can ever sit there and be like, oh, I'm great at this or I stand out, right? Like,
Right.
I'm just over here doing me.
But you've mentioned so many, things that I am trying to do with the podcast. Reaching out to other women entrepreneurs, either in the same business and a different business, to ask questions, to run problems. I'm having this problem. Have you had this one before? And so eventually, I'm putting together a network of women entrepreneurs to reach out to each other, because I think that's an awesome idea that you reached out to that agency and you were able to come together for a training. Then that's the thing. We need to empower each other, lift each other up, and continue that learning process. So I would love to add your name to my podcast network list. Can I add your name to that?
Oh, absolutely.
That would be great.
And I get thrilled when folks ask, on the rare occasion that I feel like someone's reached out to me or asked for advice or wanted to think something over or just bounce it off another person. I get excited to be a part of that process and watching someone get out of their comfort zone, right? Like
Exactly.
that's the greatest part of the journey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you have a staff, or is it just you?
Well, it's mainly just me. I do have quite a few folks that I work with on an on project basis. So I
Okay.
have a good book of friends that I can reach out to, and we kind of just depending on the projects, we contract a few things here and there, but for the most part, it's 90% me.
And in your business plan, did you do you have in there for outsourcing projects or hiring employees?
So I did. I knew right off the bat that there would be a couple of folks that I would rely on for some specific tasks. And so, I definitely planned for that, and it's worked out really well. And I think I've definitely kept them a little busier than they anticipated, but in a really good way.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. And so when you outsource or when you need help on a project, do you have contacts that you go to every time, or are you reaching out to different contacts depending on the project?
It depends on the project. I have a lot of go-tos. I have my own great network that I've just kind of been lucky enough to fall into, and it's grown over the last few years. And I've had other folks refer people to me both as clients and for specific work if they're looking to grow in certain areas. And so it's just, I'm always enjoying that part of the evolution.
What advice would you give another woman entrepreneur starting out or just beginning to create their business?
I would definitely say, if you aren't scared, you're not doing it right. So if it is too easy and you're not nervous, you're not anxious, then I think you're not doing it correctly. Because not saying you need to be so scared that, you can't function, but it's healthy motivation to have a little anxiety because it means that you're going all in, right? If
Yes,
you're not nervous about it, then I don't think that you're doing it right. You should be nervous because you should really want it, right? So you should
absolutely.
feel that kind of positive nervous energy. And I think making sure that you have a support for yourself personally, making sure that you have someone who's going to have your back. And it doesn't have to be in the business sense. It could be a best friend, it could be your spouse, it could be your family, but going into business for yourself is not for the faint of heart. It's very terrifying in the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's a lot and it's demanding. And no matter what your business cycle is, even if you're 9 to 5, you're still working 24/7. And if you have family outside of that, if you have little ones or big ones who need you still or whatever it may be, your
That's
business
right.
never stops. So having a support circle, even if it's one other person, is just paramount to your success. And I have a village and I don't know what I would do without my village between helping with my children, my friends, my other folks that I know in the industry that have been there as a referral or to help jump in on a project or whatever it may be. I would not survive without them. And that's the biggest thing, that I can push is if you're going to do it, if you're going to go all in, make sure you have your own support system because you are going to need it.
Absolutely, 100%. And you do need the support system. And also that balances with a mentor. Do you have a mentor, or is it just your support people in place?
I have people that are in my circle that I don't think they think they're a mentor, but to me they are, right? So like
Right.
first and foremost, like I definitely say like my husband. He's also a business owner and he just amazes me because I feel like it's so natural to him. And he's so great at it. And so I know that we have this wonderful relationship where we can turn the business on for a minute and we can sit and I can go to him from as business owners and say, I'm thinking this, or I'm looking at this projection. What do you think about this? And, he'll give me the objective,
Right.
input and say, no, this is why. And I'll listen because I know it makes sense, right?
Right.
I also have a couple of other female business owners that I know, and just females in general that I go to. And they may not see themselves as a mentor, but they definitely are. I have one friend and she runs a nonprofit organization. And I don't think that she would ever tell herself that she's a mentor, but to me, she is. Watching her run and grow her business and do something that's amazing to support other organizations through her efforts while still working another full time job and just always having this amazing outlook on life. Like she's such an inspiration. And so going to her with ideas and sharing details of things and listening to her input is truly what it's about because I know she'll always be brutally honest with me. But I'm just always cheering her on in the corner, right? Like no matter what
Right.
she does, I'm just amazed. So I think you definitely have to have someone, whether it's a traditional mentor, right, or not, but having someone that you can go to and you can bounce ideas off of, or if you need to pick me up, or if you just need someone to be brutally honest and say, that's a
Exactly.
horrible idea.
Right.
Don't do that. Like, don't be afraid to have those people, because having a yes man and a hype man is great. I've got plenty of those, but like, I
Right.
need the brutally honest people who care about the end
Absolutely.
result, right?
Absolutely. That's right. Because it don't, it helps you in the end when you have that person, like you said, nope, don't do it. Nope, nope. And I think the best mentor, like you said, is the mentor who doesn't feel like they are a mentor. And I just love that aspect of that. I have somebody that I can bounce things off to, and it's helped tremendously. So yeah, kudos to you for having that support system and having mentors in with you. What has been the highlight of starting Moon 38?
Oh, that's so hard to answer, right? Like, so I have to take it back to like a personal level, right? Like, so the biggest highlight of this is that I love my business. It's a third baby, right? But
Right.
my family will always be first. And I think that we live in this time where it's like, oh, where we applaud ourselves for having a busy schedule and our calendar is overbooked and we're this and we're that and we wear this with like like it's a badge, like, oh, but
Right.
I'm so busy, like that
Yep.
makes you more important. But it's true, because we're doing 8 million things at once. Like, I'm constantly, and I don't know why I always say 8 million exactly, like it's never 6 million, it's always 8
Or
million.
8.
So, but no, I think the biggest highlight is that I get to be with my family. I get to be mom. I get to be wife. I get to enjoy these amazing tiny humans that we brought into this world and be a part of their days and, teach them valuable lessons and go
Absolutely.
to all of their, events and just be mom still and, have that time with my husband and be a wife and still be able to, go to bed Sunday night without the Sunday scaries and wake up on Monday and be like, yeah, what's
Yeah.
up, Moon 38 Monday? We're going to do this. Let's kill this week, right? Like, the
Yes.
highlight is that it's not a work life balance. I don't believe in that balance stuff. Like, it's just life.
I,
Everyone says, like, you have to have this balance. And I'm like, no, because my business is me and I'm always in it no matter what I'm doing, right? Like,
I like that.
and it's life. And so my highlight is I'm just doing life and I'm doing it great on both sides. I think I'm trying, and it's good. And probably 6 out of 7 days a week, everybody's got a smile on their face, including all my clients. So I think, that I'm doing something right.
Absolutely. And I like what you said that, because that was, something I do ask too about balancing business and personal time. So it's just an even flow for you. It's just whatever comes in at the right, the left, and you go with it, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm definitely a fan of my calendar, and I discipline myself once I get the kids off to school. It's like, okay, man, I crank out my day and I make it work the way it should, and it just I I discipline myself enough to run through it and make sure that I'm taking care of all my clients and they get what they need from me 110%. But it's finding the way to do it and to make it work for me.
Absolutely. And that's part of your success. If you had a chance to go back to the start of your business, is there something? What one thing would you change?
Oh, I don't know that I would change anything. I think the only thing that I might change is that I would probably go back and say, you can do this, right? Like, I would probably put a little more emphasis in myself that, yes, you're scared and you're terrified, and that's good and that's healthy, but like maybe a little more self belief in my values, because that first year is so hard, right? And
Yeah.
the first year, going into the first year was right at the beginning of the pandemic and the whole world changed. So it was adapting to the first year in business with a
Right.
newborn and a global pandemic, right? So like, I think maybe I would have gone back in the very beginning and be like, you got this. It's cool. You're going to get some weird curveballs, but you got this.
That's right. And 2 years of those being the crazy world that we have been in with COVID. So, congratulations to you. That is just awesome. Is there any last advice you would like to give women entrepreneurs?
I think the biggest piece of advice I can give is develop your own definition of success. I've run into plenty of folks and plenty of clients, and everyone has a different definition of success. And that's awesome. And I think that's the hardest word to define when we think about it in terms of business.
Right.
It's not your gross sales or it's not your net profit, right? Like, to
Right.
me, success is happiness among my clients and, succeeding goals, absolutely. But to me, success when I look at other folks is seeing their happy employees, seeing people who like coming to their job, right? Seeing that
Absolutely.
your customers are satisfied,
Yes.
seeing those 5-star reviews. It's different for everyone. And I think if you're just starting out, you need to sit down when you do your business plan and you need to literally write to yourself, my success is defined by this. And if it's numbers, great, right? Or if
Mhm.
it's just growth, period,
Right.
fantastic. But
Absolutely.
sit down and define it for yourself, because my definition of success is not monetarily driven, right? Like it's
Right.
not anything to do with numbers. My definition of success is that my clients are happy, that their goals are fulfilled or succeeded, that I had a great day and then I got to kiss my babies goodnight and they remembered a smiling mommy, right?
Oh,
Like
that's right.
it's different for
Absolutely.
everybody, and I just think that we don't ever take the time to sit down and tell ourselves what success is, because sometimes we're busy thinking it's one thing based on what somebody else does. And
Yeah.
that's totally not the way it works. And you're not going to make it if you can't do that for yourself.
And that is great advice. I appreciate that so much. So, why don't you let the listeners know one more time where they can reach out to you?
You can reach out to me. Just go to the website, moon38.com, or email Heather at moon38.
Well, thank you, Heather, so much. I appreciate you being here with me tonight and talking to me about Moon 38. I wish you more success, and you'll be at 5 years before you know it. So, Heather, have a great night, and thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Deb. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to Women Entrepreneurs Spotlight. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. For updates on my next interview, follow me on Facebook at Woman Entrepreneurs Spotlight. Until then, keep being awesome.